Arsenal have spent over £200 million this summer, but could their spending spree continue before the end of the window? For more on this, AFTV presenter James Bayliss joins us now. James, good morning to you. Arsenal are interested in signing a goalkeeper, and that is David Raya from Brentford. What do you make of that?
Morning all. Thanks for having me back. It's come as a real shock to, I think, all of us Arsenal fans, actually, because we all love Aaron Ramsdale. I thought we had a great season last year. It's not a complete shock, the rumour, because David Raya has been linked to Arsenal before. We know he's got history with our goalkeeping coach. But I think when it came to incomings, first and foremost, we've done so much business already. I think we were expecting outgoings to be the real topic of discussion. Here we are talking about incomings and talking about a goalkeeper. And, we know Matt Turner, there's sort of questions about the competition for Aaron Ramsdale there. But I think we all thought that Aaron Ramsdale sort of had the number one sort of nailed, that he's, in a great position, having just signed the new contract. The fans love him. And David Raya is a top goalkeeper. And while we love the idea of having two really great goalkeepers fighting it out, I think you wonder, how does that dynamic work for the long term? So very interesting rumour. Definitely one that I think excites Arsenal fans. But like with a lot of Arteta's, targets and signings, it comes with questions, and good questions, real intrigue. I think we'd love to see how this all pans out. But let's see if we get it over the line first, because he's a really top goalkeeper. And I don't think he'll come cheap either.
And we know that Arsenal, they're interested in signing like a right-sided forward to provide backup stroke competition for Bukayo Saka. One of the names mentioned is Ajax's Mohamed Kudus. How much of a priority should that area be?
Probably a real priority, because look, anyone who comes in is going to have to work really hard to get that position from Bukayo Saka. He's brilliant, and he looked brilliant out on the tour. But we're 4 pre-season games in, and he started every single one. Whereas Martinelli and Trossard have alternated a little bit. We've seen Eddie lead the line for Jesus. So while there are options in the forward line, and by the way, I think it would take some outgoings as well before we could look at a player like Kudus. Bukayo Saka plays a lot of minutes in this Arsenal team, and maybe that's not necessarily a bad thing. Arteta said that players need to get used to playing 60, 70 games a season, but he's a young player, and we depend on him a lot, Bukayo Saka. I can't help but think that a little bit of help isn't a bad thing, especially if it comes in the form of a player like Kudus, who is versatile, like a lot of Arteta's signings. Someone who can lead the line, he could be a false nine, he could even play in midfield. So even if Saka is playing week in, week out, Kudus will get significant minutes elsewhere. So I'd love to see another right-sided forward come in. Again, is Kudus the only option? Maybe there's a few others out there. But I do think someone who can help Bukayo Saka and push him a little bit as well, that's never a bad thing, would certainly be a target. But like I said, we've got so many options as well. I think outgoings would have to come before we worry about another incoming in the forward line.
Well, I guess that would be the same for the Napoli winger, Kvaratskhelia. Is he a player that you'd like to sign if you can get those outgoings? I suppose it would be him or Kudus, I suppose.
Yeah, it probably would be one or the other. Undoubtedly a talented player, undoubtedly a very talented player. But again, a lot of the forwards we've got that we've invested in very recently. You think Martinelli, top goal scorer last year. Reece Nelson just signed a new deal. Trossard joined in January. They're all left heavy. They prefer to play on the left-hand side. I'm no expert on Kvaratskhelia. If he can play out on the right, then maybe that is the depth and the option there. But again, what would he cost? And that kind of fee, is that just to add depth? I don't know. I've never seen Arsenal spend this kind of money on depth before, but then maybe that's what you need to compete with Manchester City. So don't get me wrong, I love to see Arsenal linked with these players, and I love to see them bringing them in as well. But I think sometimes you've got to wonder, is that the right balance for the squad? So look, undoubtedly talented player. I'm never going to complain about signing really good players, but I'm not sure he'd be a priority, if I'm honest.
So in terms of other areas that Arsenal might need to strengthen, are you content that everything is OK, or is there anything that maybe an area that hasn't really been mentioned that you think you could do with another player?
Well, I don't know, if I'm honest. I think this is the first time we're going into a season and there's no really obvious gap in the squad. The squad is, we were just out in the United States, and, we saw the 11 that started games and the 11 that finished, and that's not including the likes of Nelson and Zinchenko, who didn't touch the pitch in the United States. And it's a really big squad, and it's a very talented squad. So maybe depending on outgoings, a lot of people are calling for a striker, and I get that, because maybe you want someone who offers something different as a focal point, who's a little bit more of a traditional number 9, whatever that looks like. But Jesus looked brilliant on pre-season tour, and Balogun, who had a great loan. He's not really had an opportunity this pre-season. Apparently, he's carrying an injury. So could he be the answer there? So I think there's still a lot of questions around other players that we're excited about, and maybe they will fill the void maybe we're missing last season in the challenge for the Premier League title with Man City. So let's see. I don't think there's a really obvious spot. I think outgoings will dictate a lot of what else we need to do in terms of incomings. But if there's not many more outgoings and this is all the business we've done in terms of incomings, I'd be pretty happy with that.
And for your expectations, you weren't far away from winning the title last season. What are your expectations this season?
Well, I think when you're in such a competitive league, and Man City are the treble winners, I think to expect to win a title, I don't know. I can never expect it, but I can certainly expect we challenge. I can always expect Arsenal to do their best to try and compete. They spent a lot of money, and I'd hope Arsenal can push Man City all the way and even closer, and hopefully win it, and certainly be competitive on all four fronts. I think that's one thing we have fallen short on a little bit in our race for top four a couple of years ago, our race for the Premier League title. We've sort of fallen away in other competitions, so it's to be competitive on all fronts. Like I've mentioned, we've got this squad, we can do that now, and push Man City further and hopefully win the league, because it's been a long time since we've done it, and what better time to do it than 20 years after the Invincibles. That's too long. It has been too long, but if you're going to wait that long, then this is the year to do it.
Great stuff, James. Thank you.